Hello everyone and welcome back to DC Central, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down and reviewing The Flash Season 6 Episode 15, otherwise entitled The Exorcism of Nash Wells. And if you have not seen this episode, be sure you do so before proceeding with this review, as there will be heavy spoilers, and it's a big one, guys. So of course this episode of The Flash follows on from the last episode where we saw the return of Eobard Thawne, aka the Reverse Flash of course, who has now somehow taken over and basically possessed the body of Nash Wells. And this brings me on to my first point about this episode, which is the acting from Tom Cavanagh. Now I've said for years Tom Cavanagh is the best actor on this show, purely because he by far has the most range, clearly, because of all the different characters he's played on the show. But also he's just so brilliant when it comes down to some of the emotional stuff, and we really saw that in this episode, because Tom Cavanagh, while he's brilliant, he doesn't really get to play the emotional stuff that often, just because his characters aren't particularly emotionally inclined in that way. Like, a lot of the characters he plays aren't particularly emotional, but what we get to see in this episode with Nash, it kind of links back to Comic-Con when we heard, you know, that kind of recurring joke that this version of Wells was going to be very sensual. We get to kind of see that very much on display here, which was very cool. And the whole idea of Reverse Flash basically possessing and taking over the body of Nash was great, because basically they explained it. What happened was, the reason why Nash is seeing all the other versions of Wells, and the reason why Reverse Flash is in there, is because basically when Crisis merged all the Earths together, all the versions of Wellses that were out there in the universe basically all merged into Nash. And because obviously in this current timeline, in this current form, Reverse Flash had taken up the body of Harrison Wells of Earth 1, he was also a part of that. So that is why he's in there, and he's basically fighting for control of Nash, because if he does that, that will allow him to basically return fully formed. So that was very cool. And like I said, Tom Cavanagh absolutely sold it. Like, this back and forth between Eobard Thawne and Nash Wells was absolutely fantastic. And it really actually allowed Nash to develop considerably, and actually gave him some sufficient backstory. And I think that this backstory that we see here with Nash basically tells us, the viewers, that yes, this is the version of Harrison Wells we are basically going to be having for the next few seasons. Because obviously the recurring joke, or, you know, recurring kind of thing on The Flash is that obviously we get a new Wells every season. It's kind of a thing, but with the multiverse being completely obliterated now, and it doesn't exist anymore, at least as far as The Flash is concerned, we're not going to be getting that anymore. So this is going to be the version of Wells that we have from here on in, and this is why we're starting to get a bit of backstory with them. And we get to find out the actual connection between him and Allegra is on his Earth. The doppelganger of Allegra, who is otherwise known as Maya, she was basically a little girl who he stumbled across on his adventures, who lost her parents, and she had a similar knack for treasure hunting and myth busting that he did, and he basically took her in as his own and basically raised her as his daughter, and that's kind of the connection that they have. And you actually find out that the reason why he's been so kind of caught up on the whole thing is because Maya actually died on a quest with him, and he feels responsible for for her death. So that is what's going on with Nash. And that development and that backstory, I think, was really crucial for Nash, because, again, we've known a little bit about him, but not a lot. He's been one of the more mysterious versions of Wells that we've had. So it was nice to actually get some clarity with him and some, actual look into his past. Especially if this is the version of Wells that we're going to have from here on in, I want to be able to actually connect to him on a way, so that I feel like he's an actual character and not disposable like most versions of Wells feel. Because other than Harry, like, I don't really know if any of the other versions of the Wells actually felt like real characters. Whereas now I'm actually starting to get that with Nash, so that's really nice. And again, just going back to Tom Cavanagh, like, his acting, like, not only as Nash doing all the emotional stuff was brilliant, but of course, anytime Tom Cavanagh gets to play as Eobard Thawne, it's always really exciting. Like, his just kind of smug and really evil portrayal of the Reverse Flash is always fun, and his back and forth with Barry was great. Really good stuff. And I'm going to jump kind of to the end of the episode here just a little bit, just because that kind of ties in with, talking about Thawne. They basically obliterate Eobard. Like, he's gone. Like, they literally, this is the last time, based on this is the last time that we will ever see Tom Cavanagh as Eobard Thawne, because they obliterate that version. He's gone. However, his negative tachyons are still floating about. So basically, the way that Eobard Thawne can jump from body to body, he basically still has that ability. So he's now looking for a new host body. And the current theory among Arrowverse fans is that Eobard Thawne is going to take over and possess the body of Godspeed. We know that Godspeed is coming back at the end of the season, in some regard, in some respect. The theory is that basically, because Eobard Thawne needs a new body, he's now going to take up the body of August Hart, become him like he did with Harrison Wells, and then he's going to obtain the identity of Godspeed, and that is what's going to bring Godspeed properly into the show, and will tie up that kind of Godspeed clone thing that we saw at the very beginning of the season. That's how this is going to tie together. So how do I feel about this? Well, I think that it's a pretty good idea. I think it's a pretty good theory, especially because Godspeed as a character isn't one who could really sustain themselves for an entire season as a villain. So if you actually make this version of Godspeed on the Flash is actually the Reverse Flash, that adds a lot more complexity to it, so I think that's really cool. Especially if they allow him to actually use the suit as well, because obviously that suit that they made for Godspeed is beautiful. It's so good, it's so well made, and it basically allows Godspeed to be a bigger character than he already is, so that's really cool. And I think it's a really smart way of bringing Godspeed in as well, because obviously Godspeed as we know him on the show, based on what we know about him, he's from the future, so why would he come back to the past and have this really big standoff with Barry if he doesn't even know who Barry is, really? Like, that, it wouldn't really make much sense. Whereas if you actually find out that it's actually Eobard Thawne as Godspeed, that makes way more sense. So I think that this is definitely a plausible option, and definitely one that could work very well for the show. And just the scenes within the exorcism itself, where we have Barry and Cisco go into the mindscape of Nash Wells, and we get to see Barry have a bit of a standoff with Eobard Thawne. Again, potentially the last time we see Tom Cavanaugh as Eobard Thawne. Really exciting, really cool stuff. I really liked seeing how their back and forth goes, and how he basically comes over the fact that, you know, he can't use Nora against him anymore. And he basically inspires him to do something at the end of the episode, which was really nice. So yeah, I think that this basically does tell us that we are never seeing Tom Cavanaugh play Eobard Thawne ever again, which is a shame because he's so good in the role, and he's brilliant, but I think the way they explained it here was really good. I also think it's very unlikely we will ever see Matt Letcher again. I know everyone wants Matt Letcher to return, but I genuinely don't think Matt Letcher ever will return to the show as Eobard Thawne. Maybe for the final season, like, because I imagine whatever season The Flash ends on, they will do Reverse Flash as the main villain again, like they did in Season 1. I imagine they'll do that, but until that day, I still don't think it'll be likely that Matt Letcher will return. So it's very difficult to do, but I think that this basically does tell us we are going to be seeing a new actor taking on the role of the Reverse Flash very soon, which is very exciting. So of course, in the last episode we did learn, following the death of the Speed Force, all speedsters are now basically running on a very limited amount of speed they have left, and that is all they've got. And in this, we actually get a really good scene here, because Barry wants to just go out, and when he actually sees Reverse Flash escape, he uses a lot of energy to almost kill him, like he almost kills him, and him and Caitlin have this great argument scene where Caitlin is basically telling him, no, Barry, you know, you can't be trusted around him, like, you're just going to deplete your speed and then you're screwed. You need to go, you need to leave, you need to get out of here because you can't be trusted around him. And I like the fact that Barry's like, no, so you don't trust me around him. It was really good to actually give Barry and Caitlin this scene, because Barry and Caitlin are normally so on the same page. To actually see them argue for once was really interesting for me, especially because their character interaction there was very good. I really enjoyed that, like, back and forth between them, because again, it's just not something we see a lot on the show. Like, normally Caitlin is such a kind of easygoing character, and like she doesn't really get into conflict unless obviously she's as Frost. But just as Caitlin, she's never normally getting into conflict, so it was really great to actually see her just have this argument with Barry. I just thought it was really well handled and really well acted. And then we have the Black Hole storyline, which was a bit weird. I mean, we now have Camilla, or the mirror version of Camilla, out in the real world with Mirror Iris, and under the orders of Eve, they have to go and collect this device. I can't remember the name of it now. Some kind of, you know, weird scientific mumbo jumbo that the Flash come up with. It's this device that she needs to help her basically escape the mirror dimension and get revenge on her former husband, who again, the name is escaping me. But this basically leads to a very interesting storyline where we have this new villain, Sunshine, who I actually really liked. But she is now basically one of these new light-based metas that is working for Black Hole. So obviously we've had Ultraviolet, we had the new version of Dr. Light, and now we have Sunshine. They're all light-based metas. And she is now going around there also trying to get this device as well. And with this kind of ties into the return of Captain Singh as well. We actually get Singh returning in this episode, which was nice. And what was cool about that as well is that we got some really good scenes between him and Joe, like doing genuine police work, which was really nice. We don't really get to see that very often. And we also get a reference as well, because obviously we did find out in the season 5 finale that Singh actually knew for like years that Barry was the Flash, and he just never revealed it. And he actually gets to talk about Barry as the Flash to Joe, which was really nice. So really cool stuff here. I've seen a lot of people criticizing the Sunshine fight scene, where she gets this very you know, kind of mainstream music choice. I actually didn't mind it. I thought the song was kind of cool, but I also don't exactly have the best taste in music, so there that is. So you can take that with a grain of salt, but I actually thought all the stuff with Sunshine and Black Hole, tying in with Eve and everything like that with this Black Hole storyline, I'm very intrigued by it all, and I really like the idea of these light-based meta assassins. I think that's really cool. And again, I didn't mind the music choice. And I like the scene as well where Barry actually gets to use his mind, where you know, he basically comes up with the idea, oh, well, she's based on sunlight. If there's no sunlight, she doesn't have any power. So he basically draws her into this fight where she's brought into a room where there's no sunlight, she loses her power, and that's that. And he comes out with these awesome, we get to see like a night vision scene. Really cool. Because again, it actually showed Barry is intelligent, which the show has very much forgotten over the years. You know, back in season 1, Barry was a very intelligent character, and that's just dwindled away over the years. But we actually get to see that here, which is nice. So again, I like this stuff as well. And finally, at the end of the episode, we do get to see a little bit more with Barry, Caitlin, and Cisco, who are still trying to develop this new version of the Speed Force so that Barry can use his own Speed Force and just carry on as normal. And he actually remembers that, oh yeah, Eobard Thawne was teaching Nora everything he knew, so maybe in Nora's journal, she will actually have the details to build a new Speed Force. So that's how they're going to try and create this new Speed Force. They're going to use Nora's journal, still keeping Nora relevant in the story, which is cool and really nice. Now, this new Speed Force could be very interesting. It could do a lot of things aesthetically. Like, I've seen a lot of people talk about how, particularly my friend Eric, you know, Eric's Reloaded, I'm sure you guys know him. He mentioned in his review for this episode that perhaps this could allow Barry to change his lightning color. Like, his color might change. Instead of being, you know, sort of like orangey yellow like it normally is, we might see a different color. Because apparently, I don't remember seeing this, I'd have to rewatch the episode, but apparently when Barry takes the velocity Overall, though, I thought this episode was absolutely fantastic. Again, Season 6 continuing to be strong. And, you know, I said last week that Death of the Speed Force was maybe my favourite episode of the season. This is also up there. Like, this is basically next to that episode. I'd say I preferred last week's just a little bit more, just because I'm such a huge fan of Wally. But this episode did so much with Eobard Thawne and Nash. Tom Cavanaugh's acting was on full display. We got a lot of development with Nash, which was really nice. The scenes were really good, really well written, really well acted. Again, it's opened up a lot of really cool questions and speculation for the rest of the season, which is very exciting. And the Black Hole storyline continues to intrigue me and get me more and more excited about the season as it goes on. But what did you guys think about this episode? Make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Were you a fan of it, or did you think it was just meh? Whatever you thought, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, guys, if you want to see more DC content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any more Flash videos from me. And as always, guys, I will see you in the next one.